Controversial questions, you've heard? Don't listen to what they say. All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Today we've got the legendary sports icon here today, Sugar Ray Leonard. Thanks so much for coming on.
Well, thanks for having me, Sean.
Yeah, I promise no super controversial questions. I don't know who told you before the show about all this.
No, I heard you talk, you say some things that's quite controversial, so I said, don't do that.
All right, I just hope the future guests won't be listening to this before.
No,
don't get any bad impressions here.
That was one of my bad jokes. I just made that up.
Yeah,
I just made that up.
Yeah, you guys missed the bad sugar joke that I just did before as well.
that was bad.
That was bad. Yeah, unintentional also. Well, first of all, I mean this must be an exclusive. But what did you think about the fight this weekend?
I thought that Ruiz didn't think much of the second fight. He wasn't focused. That happens to me. It happened to me. It's like what happens because he won the title. He believed the hype.
Yeah.
And what happens with us? We don't train as hard. We're not as serious. And when he walked into that ring a little heavier than the first fight, I knew something was wrong. I knew that he had fallen prey to believing the hype.
Mm.
You have to make the hype. Joshua, always in shape. He was always in shape, but he was more mentally stable than he was the first fight. Because it's up here. It's a mind game sometimes.
Sure.
And Ruiz was not prepared for that.
Do you think Joshua underestimated him in the first fight? You think that's what it was, and this time he was just fighting the way he usually fights?
I think to a large degree he did. I mean,
yeah.
If you look at him, if you look at Ruiz, he doesn't have the look of who? I mean, he's not cut up.
Yeah.
And some fighters are not cut up.
He's fast though. I mean,
but he surprised me. I tell you, and he impressed me. He impressed me with first of all being knocked down because I said it'll go maybe two rounds.
Yeah.
When he got knocked down, I said it's over. He's dead. And he got up and came back stronger. His hands are super fast.
That's
for
what
a heavyweight.
it is.
Yeah, big.
Like people underestimate him for sure. I imagine.
I mean, I was very impressed the first fight.
Yeah. So this was all over the tabloids. I don't know if like where it got picked up, but I saw that you were watching the fight with all of these like A-list celebrities. Sylvester Stallone, of course, being one of them, and I think there was who's the chef?
Guy.
Chris D'Elia, all these different people.
Yeah.
Is that like a regular group of people that you guys hang out with usually?
No, but it will be.
Yeah, imagine.
No, it was an incredible time or moment or night of boxing and with friends, old and new.
Yeah.
It was great. I mean, people were very shocked by what took place there.
Right.
In the ring.
Right. And you were the only expert there. I mean, I guess Sylvester, just based on his history, but
trust me, Sly knows boxing.
He knows boxing?
Yes, he
okay.
does.
Yeah. Shouldn't underestimate him that way. So I guess I actually want to know where the name Sugar came from. I just made this bad joke, which has got me thinking. Where did the name originate from? How did you first stumble upon into that name?
My name is Ray Charles. My mother named me after Ray Charles, the legendary singer. But when I started boxing, I was like 9 years old. Then I remember I was like 16 years old, and I was trying out for the 1972 Olympics. Although I was a year younger than schedule, I made it to the quarterfinals, and I was in the dressing room crying because I was so close to being on the team that a coach walked in the back, a boxing coach, said, hey, Sugar Man, don't worry, you'll be more prepared and more experienced in 1976. And when he said that, Sugar Man. So when I got home, because I knew of Sugar Ray Robinson's legacy, and I said, I'm going to call myself Sugar Ray. And I started doing that. And I also asked Sugar Ray Robinson, I said, Is it okay if I use your name?
Oh, before you actually started
No,
using it
I
publicly.
use it. I use it. I did it first. I used it publicly first.
Ah,
But then
gotcha,
I came
gotcha.
up to him, and at that time I was a professional fighter of maybe 12, 15 fights. So
Gotcha.
I just, I was nervous as heck, but
Yeah.
I asked him.
Yeah, it was more like do it first, ask for permission
Exactly.
later on, right?
Yeah.
I love the mentality. Gotcha. And what was it about Sugar that was just the way the guy that said it to you?
Sugar Ray Robinson was just, I had a few idols, from Sugar Ray Robinson, who was a class act, who was smooth, flamboyant, uh, charisma. He had everything, style, everything.
Yeah.
I want to be like him. I want to show. I want to be an entertainer. Put it that way. I want to be an entertainer.
Interesting.
Yeah.
From an early age, is this something that you've wanted to do?
Not really, not necessarily. I was the least person that would get involved with boxing. I was non-confrontational. I was
Yeah.
shy, quiet. Um, I was a wallflower. I was afraid of asking a girl out. I mean, I was so bad that when I got involved with boxing, it was like I found boxing, boxing found me, or we found each other.
Yeah.
I put those gloves on. It was like magic, man. It was like this is what you're gonna do. And my brother Roger used to beat me up for no perm, just because I was there.
When you were young?
He just punched me. Yeah, just punched me. And I cry, and my older brother Kenny would say, "Hey man, fight him back, fight him back." But I was so shy and so scared. But I had discipline. I would
Right.
train harder than anyone. I did more sit-ups than anyone. I did more push-ups than anyone. I ran further than anyone. And within a year, I broke my brother's nose, which,
Well deserved.
well deserved, yeah. But it became a part of my life. Boxing became a part of my life.
That's
like
right.
It is today.
As it is today. Yeah. And because when you were growing up, you had, I wouldn't say a normal life, but you were fairly an introvert, and this is something that boxing kind of found you. We had Dennis Rodman on, who also said the same thing, that the whole idea of finding basketball was actually a fluke. He grew a foot within a year, and all of a sudden all these basketball scouts were coming to him. And for you, what was that like when you first put on those boxing gloves, and were you a natural at it? Is this something that you were just...
far from that. Far from that. But I put the gloves on, and I was like this. I wish they could see me like this. I guess they can't. But it's not.
With videos, they can actually.
Like
Yeah.
this, like
Look
this,
at
like
you.
this. It's not good. But I kept trying. And I used to fight like Joe Frazier,
Mm.
and I would knocking guys out left and right. So, and when I told my parents, I said, "Mom, Dad, come and watch me box next week." They said, "No, you don't box." They wouldn't go. They didn't come down for.
Huh.
It took a few months before they were convinced that I was indeed a boxer. Because again, I was a scaredy. Well, I was a frightened cat. I was afraid of my own shadow. I was just so bad. I mean, really, what you're looking at is someone who transformed himself
Wow.
naturally into the fighter I became.
How would someone describe you at high school? Like, at what point did you start to gain this level of confidence about yourself and who you are?
I'm glad you brought that up because, again, there's a transformation that boxing gives you and gave me because I was so shy and everything. And not because I can beat people up, but because it gave me a sense of self. My self-esteem grew. My confidence grew. I walked with my chin up and not put my head down. And I wasn't afraid of anything. And my life just changed. I became a better person, more confident. I became so much better, more open about life,
Yeah.
more accepting to agree or to try things.
Right.
I thought, first of all, I thought that football was too dangerous. I thought that baseball was too dangerous.
Baseball was?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
And I just thought because the ball would come so fast.
Yeah.
And I just thought that's not for me. In the ring, and I really came to grips with this. I felt safer because I could control what took place in that ring for the most part. I
Mm.
choreograph.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and you played a lot of
Mind games.
mind games,
Absolutely.
and I mean, we're gonna certainly get into that for sure. But I guess there is this sense of growing up as a child where you had older brothers who were trying to beat you up
Yeah.
playfully, and you felt, I imagine, helpless. And this is a theory, but I imagine being able to box and physically protect yourself was one way to gain that inner confidence because you just knew inside that there wasn't anyone that can really harm you, or at least you can defend yourself in a proper way.
Yeah, I got bullied to a degree, not as heavy as some other kids, unfortunately. Well, fortunately, things happened to me, and I could defend myself. And again, I didn't box to learn how to beat people up. I boxed because I loved it. I love the contact. I love the out thinking. I love the out being able to go the distance. I love those factors
Right,
in boxing.
right. Gotcha. Um, of course, you did talk about this openly, which is when you were a child, there were I think there's two incidences where there was some sexual abuse that happened. Obviously, that causes a lot of, for anyone, causes a lot of mental trauma to a chip on their shoulders. How did that affect you in terms of wanting to play a physical sport like boxing, or was it not affected at all?
I tell you what, and I'm glad you brought that up because for years, I'm talking about 40, 50 years, I never talked about it. I kept it to myself. It was something that, as I got older, it was something I was ashamed of. And then all of a sudden, you know, understanding, because I'm also an alcoholic. I've been sober for 15 years, and
Congrats.
my life's changed but there has to be a willingness to change. It's like there has to be a willingness to believe you can beat that guy in the ring. So for me, when that took place, uh, the sexual abuse, it was with a coach who I believed in, who I thought would help me get to the Olympics. So there was a lot of I gave him me, and when that thing occurred, I ran home. I remember vividly. I ran home and I was crying, and when I got into the house, I dried, I wiped my eyes and I went to my bed. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell my first wife. I didn't tell my second wife for a long time. But when I did a book, I wrote a book. I talked about that, and I didn't want to at first, but then something, I don't know, something got inside my heart and in my mind that I could be helping others out. And I think Todd Bridges, yeah, he was seducted to that, and I said it's okay to talk about, and I talked about that, and then I did a book signing. I was a nervous wreck because I said people gonna think I'm crazy, people gonna think I'm sick and weak and this and that. I had all these factors, but some guys say, hey man, that happened to me. I mean, all of a sudden now, what I'm
Wow.
saying to the world, you help somebody, whether
Right.
it's a kid or it's an adult, someone who's been through it. That's one of my greatest accomplishments.
Yeah, and I imagine you're such an inspiration to look to because despite going through such a traumatic experience like that, look how far you've been able to come and overcome, and now you're able to tell that story from the other side. So there's hope for people that can hear that kind of story, right? Especially if it's like a recent thing they just went through.
Yeah.
To see someone like yourself that have came and thrive on the other end like no one has.
I do motivational speaking. I've been doing this for quite some time, and I use boxing or fighting as a metaphor. But every blue moon, it'll come up naturally. I say, by the way, I'm an alcoholic, and also I was sexually abused, and then the building gets quiet. They just
Yeah.
get quiet, and I said, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have said that. And then they'll clap. They'll clap because some of them can relate to what I've dealt with.
Yeah.
And it's an incredible feeling, reciprocating, giving back, making a difference in someone else's life. I made an incredible impact in the ring, but I wanted to make even a greater impact outside the ring, and not just with boxing, but I use boxing as a platform, which I've done for years,
Sure.
to talk about these things, these
Yeah.
factors,
Yeah.
for kids, especially kids.
I mean, I just condemn you for being so open about it based on just how far you've come in your career and all roller coaster rides that you've been to. This is my first time hearing that it was actually a coach that trained you, I guess, for the Montreal Olympics, or was it for the previous one?
Well, he was one of the champion. I mean, one of the Olympic coaches, I should say.
Yeah.
And again, I that's why I try not to be too specific because
For sure.
or his parents or his wife, whatever the case may be, it's not their fault. It's this guy. So I try to keep it a little anonymity.
Yeah, yeah, because there was a story that you were talking about, and I couldn't quite piece it together, which is you win gold medal at the Montreal Olympics,
Right.
and here you are, you're really accelerating this pathway in your career where there is a real shot at going pro and really taking this seriously, changing your entire lifestyle. And you talk about how the moment you win the gold Olympics or the gold medal at the Olympics, that you decide to, again, kind of go into this roller coaster experience
Right.
where you're hanging out with people that are doing heroin, that are doing other drugs and alcohol, where you felt almost less than this moment that you started in the Olympics. Talk to us a little bit about that because I couldn't quite piece that together, I guess.
Yeah. It all started, 1976, the Olympics in Montreal. Um, I remember vividly standing on that pedestal, the podium, and the national anthem is being played. I had the gold medal draped around my neck, and I want to cry, I want to scream, I want to just cheer, but I was in between because after the Olympics, now it's professional.
Yeah.
That's the path we take, and I didn't want to turn pro because I've heard about stories of great fighters, legends, who became world champion, made a lot of money, and at the end of the day had nothing to show for it. I didn't want to be one of them. So what I was planning on doing was attending University of Maryland, furthering my education, and get a good job, a solid job. I got home, and my dad had went into a coma, and my mom's crying, my siblings are crying, I'm crying. And I asked my mentor, Jenks Morton, I said, Jenks, I mean, how do I make fast money? We had nothing. He said, turn pro. I didn't give it a second thought. I turned pro. But before I turned pro, he introduced me to a guy, Mike Trainer, who's no longer with us. Mike Trainer is my friend, my attorney. He was everything to me. He said, Ray, so what do you want to do? Because when I got home from the Olympics, they had considered using me for the Wheaties box.
Okay.
But because I had kids out of wedlock, I wasn't the look of the person they wanted. And I was devastated. So I couldn't get a job and nothing was going on because fame is fleeting. So he said, turn pro. And I did that. But again, before I turned pro, I made sure that I wasn't owned by anyone because there was been a lot of mismanagement, mispromoting judges and everything. So I wanted to have my own thing. So he brought together 30 people who each loaned me $1,000, and I paid them my first professional fight. I paid them off, became incorporated, and promoted myself.
Sugar Ray Leonard Inc.
Sugar Ray
boxing.
Leonard. Yeah. And so I was hopefully leading the way for a lot of other young, up and coming world champions. But wow, man, I didn't want to turn pro. I didn't want to turn pro, but I turned pro for my dad to help him out.
Wow.
And my father, by the way, just passed away last year at 95.
Wow.
Yeah. He hung in there for a long time, man. He hung there for a very long time. Yeah.
Wow. Well, what was the fear of going pro though for you? Was it the fear of failure? The fear of
No, not the fear. Just the fear of being mismanaged, mishandled. That was it. That was basically it. And I figured that that could happen to me too. So I became independent, financially independent. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, catalyst, at least someone that was very special in your life that probably gave you, amongst that advice, but many different advices, was Muhammad Ali.
Oh, without question. Yeah.
And this was right in between this pivotal moment of your life when between going through the Olympics and going through this pro career of your life.
Yeah.
Talk to us about this relationship you have with Muhammad. How did you guys first connect?
The first time I saw Muhammad Ali was with a friend of mine, who actually my security guy, James Anderson, who's again no longer with us. Um, but meeting Ali, my idol, man. I mean, Ali. Hey, what they call you Sugar Ray. I mean, he was so cool. He was just. I mean, he was the epitome of boxing. He was bigger than life. He was bigger than boxing, and he was my friend. And he gave me so much advice. He said, sign your own checks, do this and do that. He always told me to do things, and I always like, okay, 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 okay. Um, and when he passed away, I tell you, I was devastated. But also, I felt that here's a man who gave so much to so many, and not just because of boxing, but because he was boxing. And we became very, very good friends. And I mean, I tell you, I can only look back of how blessed I am and I feel because I mean I met Nelson Mandela because I was doing a speech this huge yacht boat, and when I got home, back to the hotel. This was in Johannesburg, and I got back to the hotel and the phone rang. Mr. Leonard, Mr. Nelson Mandela wants to invite you to dinner at his house today. I'm like, I'm hyperventilating. I'm sorry. I hyperventilate a lot. I got to his house. I knocked on the door. He answers the door. He hugs me. My champion, my champion. He said, one thing I don't tolerate is people being late. I just start sweating, right? I'm sweating. He said, my photographer should have been here a long time ago. I'm like, what the heck? He's a boxer. He was a boxer, amateur boxer.
Whoa, he
Yeah.
was.
And I was so impressed. He said, sir, son, you know what? You inspire me. I said, sir, to the contrary, you inspire me. And I gave him one of my belts. That's how much he meant to me.
Yes.
I gave him one of my belts, and championship belt. And wow, man, you talking about being like in shock when I met Muhammad Ali, when I met Nelson Mandela. I wanted to meet Elvis Presley, and then Bruce Lee was another one of my idols. So 2 out of 4 ain't bad.
Not bad.
Not bad at all.
More
Not
than,
bad.
More than 99.9% of people out there.
Exactly.
Did you ever get in the ring with him just to kind of train together with knowing that he's obviously a fan and
I never thought about that because I didn't see him as a fighter.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes people don't see me as a fighter because when, like, years ago, my kids are like 19 and 22, and they'll be at an event and they'll show me boxing. And my kids didn't know anything about boxing, especially
Right.
me. And they'll look at the screen and they look at me and say, that's not Papa. They call me Papa. This is not Papa. Because I'm so nice and I'm so this. And then when they see me in the ring, boom, 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 boom,
Different
boom,
guy.
boom, they forgot. Yeah,
Different guy.
Who was that guy?
Yeah,
Who was that guy?
Ray
Yeah.
Charles at home, Sugar Ray
I
Leonard
know.
in the boxing ring, right?
Exactly.
My God. Well, speaking of hyperventilating, this is something I've been curious to know about with someone like yourself who is just an incredible, I guess, you must have an incredible mental state to be able to perform at that level that you had, and you still do. Do you have a specific routine? Because you talk about being nervous for certain events like this, and I imagine you're a human being, so you were certainly nervous during these big fights like Duran and Hagler.
Right.
What is the routine that you go through from the moment you wake up or even before you go to bed for such a big event like the boxing or meeting someone like Nelson Mandela?
Well, for me, it's a number of things, of factors. There's that transformation because when I start training the first week until 8, 10 weeks, 12 weeks later, the transition of my body and of my mind is so amazing. Your body, I mean, you get cut up and everything. Then your mind is so sharp because I have what I call tunnel vision.
Yeah.
You directly and just focus on that particular matchup. When I'm in the ring, or even prior to the ring, in the dress room, I look in the mirror. I know who's going to show up because I look in that mirror. I don't know. I don't know who's going to show up. I look in that mirror, and if I see Sugar Ray Leonard, I'm okay. I can compete with Mike Tyson. If I see Ray Leonard, the civilian, I'm in trouble because I'm not the guy who's not qualified to be in that ring.
Right.
And that happened to me maybe a handful of times, maybe 5 to 6 times maximum.
What's the indicator? Is it just a feeling you get, or
it's a vibe, man. You know, sometimes, I'm sure you've come here, and you're just not as like sharp and ready and motivated and happy or relaxed. You just fighting. Whether you slept well or not, it's just that feeling. It's a natural feeling.
Yeah.
And for me, I feed off that. But I don't give up. I try to be as optimistic as I possibly can be, and spiritually sound. I pray before, even amateur, before I enter the ring. And I never pray to win. I pray no one got hurt. I've always done that, and I did it as a professional fighter. I think back on my career and my life and my legacy. It's been an amazing journey, an incredible journey.
Yeah.
Because again, I came from nothing. I mean, they used to say, "Well, Ray's a white collar fighter." I said, "I'm far from that." You know, I just happen to be in an era where that back in the day, boxing was on network television, NBC, CBS, ABC. Howard Cosell, for those of you who don't know who Howard Cosell, incredible sports broadcaster.
Yeah.
I mean, infamous. I mean, he was just one of those special guys who he and Muhammad Ali were like a charm. But I'm so happy. I'm so proud. I'm so elated of how my career started and ended.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you clearly had more moments when you look yourself in the mirror that you've seen Sugar Ray Charles, Sugar Ray Leonard, to win all the fights.
You're right, Sugar Ray Charles.
Sugar Ray Charles, yeah.
I'm all those, and I tell you, and I see some old fights of mine, and I myself say, who is that guy?
Huh.
Because I'm non-confrontational. I'm a little shy but sociable, if that makes any sense. But I'm like that, man. I'm just like that, you know.
Yeah.
And if I'm pushed, then I can hit that switch. Hit that switch that makes me do what I have to do.
Yeah, in some ways, I've heard you talk about you feeling more comfortable in the ring than the outside world, which is so. It's kind of confusing for most people. No, most people can't understand why that is, right?
Yeah, you know, I have this this switch with this intestinal fortitude. You know, that's what makes fighters great. That's what makes anyone great, and you're able to hit that switch and go activate that thing, that strength, that additional breather, or that additional punch.
Yeah.
I talk about that all the time. It's just so amazing what we, as people, as human beings, can do, and that's why the Michael Jordans, that's Kobe Bryant's. That's what they do. They can go beyond that. You know, that's what Floyd Mayweather's could do. He could, because he believed, not the hype, but he believed in himself.
Yeah.
He talked trash. Hey, if you talk trash, it's okay. Only Muhammad Ali could talk trash and back it up, but Mayweather would back it up.
Right.
So it's all about what's up here. It's more mental. It's like sweet science of boxing. It's what they call it, and it's so true. Because again, when I would compete, and just hypothetically, if I was competing against you, okay, how much you weigh now?
140, 145.
Okay, that's good weight.
Yeah.
I'm 160.
Okay.
No,
give me a couple of weeks.
I would like, hey, how you doing? I'll touch your shoulders and everything. And
Yeah.
I'll concentrate on your weak areas.
Oh,
Yeah.
just to get me thinking about that area before the fight.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
This is what Arnold Schwarzenegger did, right? Who you spent time with this weekend.
Yes.
Where he was going through this bodybuilding competition, and he knew that, I think it was the calves or some thigh area, and he would just comment on them when they're training out. And he knew he was going to compete against this guy in a couple months.
Yes.
And he would see the other guy like looking at himself in the mirror, like all self-conscious. And he knew that he had him. He knew that he was going to win that competition because he was in his head.
That's so true, because I look at these fights and I choreograph them, and 9 times out of 10 it goes my way. Every now and then I fight a Tommy Hearns or a Hagler, and it's harder. But then again, it does work in spurts.
Yes, I mean Duran is the no mass event
Oh yeah,
is
yeah.
the clearest example of that, where it seems like you really, instead of just playing the game, you really played the man there, where you wanted to fight him immediately
After
right after Montreal, and people were not for that.
I know,
No
no,
one told you to do that,
because
actually.
it's unprecedented the fact for a fight of that magnitude to take place, to rematch, to happen so quickly, less than 5 months.
Yeah.
That fight took place because I also knew his lifestyle and that he would gain, an enormous amount of weight. And I got him back in there, but also I had to believe I could win the fight.
Yeah.
And I didn't watch that fight for a couple months after the fight. Didn't watch it, but I had to watch it. So when I did watch it, I said I could have done this, I could have done that. But also, he beat me. He got inside my head. In other words, he would talk trash. He gave me the finger. He cursed me, cursed my wife. So
Oh, whoa.
he did those
The
things,
line.
and he got under my skin, and I didn't know what to do. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna beat him at his own game, and that's when I went wrong. When I said I'm gonna beat him at his own game, because Roberto Duran is like a Tasmanian devil. I mean, he throws so many punches. He hit me so hard, so many times, so many places that I turn around and say, "Who else is in this ring?" You know, Durant. I mean, he's probably. I mean, we're friends now. I used to hate that son.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, but we're friends. I'm like I said, I just got off the phone with Tommy Hearns. Hagler. We don't call each other on our birthdays, but we still civil to one another.
Yeah.
But it's a mind game. It's a mind game.
And did you decide to at least announce that you were going to fight him immediately before you watched the first fight?
You know, the thing with the first fight, I never thought that would happen because I was welterweight, 147. He was a lightweight, 132, 135, or whatever it was. And I say, I'm too big for this guy. And when the fight it was just announced naturally. They say, yeah. And I said, this guy's little, he's this and that. But he was smart. He was smart upstairs.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. Along with his own talent, Duran is not giving. He's not given the credit he deserves. He's also a great boxer to be so small, and he competes against all of us. I mean, from the welterweights to middleweights to Marvin Hagler.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, Roberto Duran.
It was the main four of you guys
Yes,
that
the main
were
four.
talked about through the whole era, right?
Yes, it was. Yes,
Yeah.
it was. I beat them all. Anyway.
Just throw that out there.
I just threw that out there.
Just spitting the truth, yeah.
In fact, I just told. I was talking to Tommy Hearns on the way over here, and I said, "Hey, Tom, I may bring your name up." He said, "Well, make sure it's nice." Yeah, it's nice, Tommy. I beat you.
Yeah. Yeah, you just told him that you'll tell the truth, right? Wow. I mean, it is some history, though. So do you study the fighters beforehand about their? I mean, clearly you knew Duran's lifestyle, you knew habits, you knew that he was going to be gaining some weight.
Right.
Before that, I guess it's similar to the way Joshua predicted Ruiz in certain ways, wanting that fight right away.
Well, with Joshua, I mean, you can see that. You can see that additional poundage, if that's a word. Yeah, I mean, I would send. I don't want to call them spies, but they were.
Oh.
They were.
Is it exclusive?
But I sent spies to watch Hagler work out and see what, things he didn't like, because Marvin Hagler believed that the first fighter to the center of the ring wins the fight. And if you go back and watch the fight with us, I'll kind of sprint almost to the center of the ring.
Right.
Just it's these little minuscule things, but it's significant.
Right.
With Duran kind of was a bully in the ring, quite intimidating. And when I was doing these things, winding my hand up and punching with the other hand, sticking my chin out, that drove him crazy. Because all of a sudden now people are laughing. The fans are laughing at these antics.
Right.
Tommy Hearns. I know I fought Tommy Hearns. I walked around the ring, and I was in tremendous shape. And I said, "Who in this audience can beat Tommy Hearns?" And I saw Muhammad Ali. And the first round, I'm moving around like Muhammad Ali. Same thing.
And he must have known that Muhammad Ali was also watching.
I don't. I would. I'm gonna ask Tommy. I'm gonna ask.
Yeah, ask him.
I doubt it, I'll be surprised if he did, but I don't. I'm sure he was aware of his presence,
Of course.
but
Yes.
but I don't think he saw that I was trying to emulate Muhammad Ali on him.
Yeah. I mean, there's these small little mental games that people watching just
Yeah.
have no idea that this is going on. But between the two fighters that you're either getting to them, you're not. There's all these mental games that are happening before, during, and even after the fight.
Absolutely, yeah. I
It's
mean,
crazy.
like on the way, at the weigh-in, every now and then you see a little scuffing, little guys punching each other or yelling at each other. It's routine, but there are times it gets real.
Yeah.
Real. I mean, it gets real.
Mm.
But it's a natural process to talk trash. I mean, they do it in basketball, they do it in hockey, they do it in everything.
Yeah.
Talk
yeah.
trash, yeah.
Who do you think had the best mental warfare during the era, or even in a current era?
Ali, Muhammad
Ali,
would
of course.
yeah, he would, because he was more outspoken. His antics and that, yeah.
First to be like that outspoken at that level too, right? He's
At
really
that-
the pioneer in
And
that.
at that time,
And at that time
And at
as
that
well.
time, yes,
Yeah. I
yes.
mean, no one was, even now, people are, I guess, copying him. Floyd Mayweather, I would say, is kind of mimicking that Conor McGregor. So, yeah.
yeah,
It's very
it's just,
controversial.
it's what you're natural with and what you believe. I mean,
Yeah.
you can talk all the trash you want, but if you don't back it up, you'd be known for that.
Yeah. That's
Yes,
it. That's it.
Excellent.
So here you are. You had this momentum of this spectacular wins and battles, and you're really at the top of this career. And you notice that one day that you see these floaters that are coming around, which I've had also in my life. I guess when you're,
It could be fatigue too.
it's fatigue as well. Yeah.
Fatigue as well. Yeah, I mean, what happened when I suffered this partial detached retina? I was scheduled to fight this guy in 2 weeks, and I was seeing like a little. It was like someone pulled a shade down on my eye, and which when your eye's swollen, that's what it feels like. And I kept saying, I said, my eye's swollen, guys. And I said, no. I look in the mirror, I see nothing. And we went to a doctor, actually a optometrist.
Optometrist.
Yeah. And they don't have the equipment to. So went to an ophthalmologist and in Baltimore, John Hopkins, and they said, if you don't have surgery in a week, you will be blind.
What the hell?
And I'm like, what? I said, what do I have? Because I didn't see anything. And I said, you know what? When do we have surgery? He says surgery, because I flew back to Baltimore to John Hopkins Hospital on that, I think, Thursday. And the doctor said, well, you can go home. You can either go home and come back and have the surgery. I said, can I go home and think about it for a week or two? He said, no, because in a week you'll be blind.
Oh my God.
I remember it was like straight like that.
Wow.
He told me that. I said, let's do it tomorrow. Because it was a Friday night. It was a Friday evening. I got to Baltimore. And it was so surreal. And I recall waking up after the surgery, and the first thing I did was pull that bandage off my left eye, and all I could see was like light. I said, thank God I'm not totally blind.
Right.
It was a weird thing, and I can remember these moments in my life, in my career, so clearly. I mean, like when I fought Duran, I could smell his breath. If I concentrate hard enough, I can smell his breath again.
Was it good or?
I don't like it.
Was there Listerine back then?
But no. But I remember that doctor saying that, and I remember taking that Band-Aid off my eye, and I was okay with seeing light.
Right.
It was a pretty spooky moment.
Was there, even though you were able to see light, was there a fear that maybe you
Career?
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
You didn't think about that. Okay.
I didn't think about that, but eventually that question did come up.
Right.
First of all, I want to make sure that my eye was okay. So, I think it was after a week or two of seeing the doctor. That last examination, he said, Ray, your left eye is just as strong as your right eye. He said, if you want to, you can go back. If you want to, you can go and resume your career. But but no one would understand that. So I really wanted to continue, uh, but I didn't. I always fought to make sure people looked at me as a different way. In other words, better suited, better, smarter, common sense, and this and that. So, with the exception, well, with my family, they wanted me to retire, and the fans wanted me to retire. Don't risk it. Don't risk it. But boxing is a risk. Life is a risk. Success is a risk. I mean, that's how I felt. But understandably so, a lot of my fans didn't want me to come back. And I thank them for that. And I feel blessed to have that kind of concern. But that 2 years of inactivity, because I did retire. I retired a lot of times.
Right.
But when my first retirement, I think I'm 25, and it was hard, man. And I got introduced to cocaine. I got introduced to almost heroin. I got introduced to pot and everything, drinking excessively. My life was going. It was like, I tell you, man. I look back on my first wife, Juanita, who we still were friends now. In fact, she's friends with my wife, Bernadette. But I thank her for maintaining the family, keeping the kids, away from when I was messed up. It was really, really, you try to make peace, but sometimes we get stupid. When you're drinking, you're doing drugs, the cocaine, and all those things, like back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you made peace with her? Have you said the things that you've wanted to say after you've been sober for this time?
Absolutely. You make amends. You have to. And if you admit to someone who you hurt or bothered or whatever the case may be, for me, that speaks volume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there is this. I don't know if this is something that you've recognized, but seems to be this pattern of like whenever you did go to retirement, you would go through these darker periods through drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
Was there a part of you that said, "Man, like I don't want to retire," because subconsciously there is this thought where all of the associations that you have of retirement are darker times. So was that something? Was there ever a factor there where you thought about retirement? You're like, oh, I don't want to go through that again.
When I didn't look good or didn't perform well, I always retired. I would say, "That's it. That's it. It's my last. This is it." And the first time I retired, I think it was 1982, I believe it was. And I went through just a whirlwind of trying to find who I am, where my heart is, where my mind is, and all those things at the time were just all over the place. Because I'm doing the cocaine. I'm pencil thin. And I asked my boys, "Hey man, am I skinny?" "No, champ, not no. Hell no, man. You like Papa." And although I knew they were lying, I accepted that. They kind of gave me like, "Oh yeah, yeah." But when my wife told me, she said, you're hurting yourself, but also you're hurting your family. And then a guy told me, a friend of mine told me, the guy James Anderson, who was my security. He told me, he said, "Ray," he said, "Man, the hell with everything else." He said, "Forget about you. If you get pulled over for drunk driving, for hurting someone, and this or that, any other scenario that involves hurting someone other than yourself, how are you going to tell that to your kids? I mean, how do you think a kid's going to deal with that?" And he said that, and that resonated with me. That hit home, man, because no one really told me except Mike Trainer or James Morton. Ollie Dunlap. Those guys would tell me straight up, that's wrong, that's uncalled for. And that same night, I went to the mirror. I looked in the mirror. I cried like a baby. I cried like a baby. Because I didn't want my parents to, whenever they passed, to see me as an alcoholic, to see me as a drug addict, and I never went back. I straightened myself up.
Did you get that moment with your parents before?
I did.
You did.
When my father passed away, he saw a sober Ray Leonard. He saw his son. He saw the son that he taught right from wrong, and he left me. He left us with just, I'm okay now.
Mm.
I'm going home.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I mean, just given the profile that you did have, I imagine there was a lot of people that were telling you all of these different lies or compliments just to be able to be around you and to be able to get them to you to like them.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine it was very rare to have someone or a couple people in your life that can tell you the truth, even though maybe you weren't at that mental state to appreciate that at that moment and know how much that's going to impact you. I'd be curious to know, the sober Sugar Ray Leonard, how do you filter that out? Just given how much people want your attention, want your time, how do you find those people in your circle that you can really trust, given the profile that you have today, knowing your experiences?
That's a very good question. I accept not only my heart, because I have a big heart, but my mind also works in conjunction with my heart and lets me know what is right or what is wrong. Because sometimes your heart can tell you not necessarily what's right or wrong, but it tells you that you should be involved. Your mind try to break down what is practical, what is real, what is la la land, and I've been doing okay with it because I go to my meetings almost every day if I can, and I just learn. I think it's humility too.
Mm.
I'm humble, and I believe in God. I was raised as Baptist back in the day, and I know I never let God in my life until 15 years ago, because I didn't want to disappoint Him. Because to say I'm not going to do any more cocaine, I'm not going to drink anymore. I knew that I was going to go down that road again if I get upset, this or that. But I came to grips with the fact that whatever higher power you have, it makes a difference, because we can't. I mean, with what this world is turning to, our country and the world. I mean, it's some strange thing. I didn't get into politics, and I still really don't get into it. But sometimes I can't. There's no way I can, because it's 24/7.
Yep. Yeah.
And I'm thinking about my grandkids. I'm thinking about my great grandkids. I have so much stuff on my mind, and I try to give myself. I try to just be of help, whether it's giving back to diabetes, which I have a foundation.
Yes.
With my wife, and just making a difference. Just giving myself. I'm getting confused now because it becomes emotional.
Right.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
It gets emotional, and then I didn't want to show my feelings, and I've learned, like they say, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. You can, and I learned to talk about things that at one time would upset me so much, that would make me so emotional. But then again, that's okay.
Mm.
That's okay to talk about things. I'm a fighter. I'm a champion. This and that. But I'm also a human being.
Right.
I'm also a father. I'm also a husband. I'm also a friend.
Right.
And when those things are jeopardized, no, I try to make the right decision.
Yeah, and it's so refreshing to hear. I think you really are one of the few, especially in boxing, but in really any sport, to be openly talking about all of the different experiences, whether they're good or bad. Particularly, I guess, in the recent years, you're saying you said that you didn't come out about the sexual abuse
Mm-hmm.
for the first 45 years. So what was that pivotal moment in your life? Was there a specific person that allowed you to shift from not talking really about any of the things that you went through to now just being a completely open book, especially talking about all of these different experiences?
It was so simple. I saw my wife smile really, really smile.
Mm.
And I mean, she don't smile. She don't smile all the time. But when I saw my wife smile, that smile, I knew that I was doing the right thing.
Mm.
I was heading in the right direction. And you know, I sometimes I put too much pressure on myself. You know, I think about I could have been a better husband. I could be a better father. I can be a better friend. And sometimes these things are overwhelming. But the great thing about it is the fact that now I don't, when pressure comes on, I don't grab cocaine. I don't grab a shot of tequila. I pray. I just pray, man.
Mm.
I just pray, and it works out. It works out.
Wow. So that's your vehicle now
That's my
to
vehicle now.
whenever you have the urge to do the drugs or alcohol or anything like that. That's your vehicle.
Yeah, I meditate.
Yeah.
I go there. I go there, and I talk to my higher power. I talk to my God as a guy. You know,
Mm.
as a friend, and I just talk. You know, help me out with this one because I remember many years ago. I mean, we're talking like shoot, 40 years or 45 years when I used to have a hangover.
Yeah.
I used to say, God, please help me. I swear to God, I say, swear to God, if you help me with this one, I won't do it again. The next night, I'm doing it again.
These are bad hangovers for you to be praying.
I know.
I don't think I've ever prayed to get rid of a hangover.
My hangovers were so bad.
Oh,
My
man.
hangovers were so freaking
Were
bad.
you partying with Dennis Rodman or?
I don't know who. That's the problem. I forgot who I was
Oh my
partying
God,
with. You know,
is that bad?
was yeah. But I didn't know. I swear, I pray. I said, God, please. It was that. It was that painful, painful, and not just physically painful, but mentally painful. My
Yeah.
heart was burning. My heart was hurting because I knew that I hurt my wife. I knew that I was hurting my kids. I knew that I was hurting my career. I knew these things,
Yeah.
but I didn't want to go there.
Yeah, that's kind of the negative cycle when it comes to the drugs and alcohol, right? Which is you wake up sober somewhat,
Yeah.
still a little drunk, I imagine,
Yeah.
and you have these burning desires or this disappointment with yourself or this sorrow, all these feelings that come that are negative, and the natural thing for you to think about is to go and do more drugs and alcohol so you can drown out a lot of the experiences, and that's why people just get into a worse and worse state because now your tolerance level builds up, so you need more, and it's just like it's a never-ending cycle. And for you to be able to break through that is just amazing.
But just think about this. All of a sudden, you drinking so much, and the same thing is going to happen all the time. You're going to wake up and feel like, you know, a ton of bricks fell on your face and your body, and your head is hurting, your stomach is hurting, your body is hurting, your heart is hurting. Yet you do it again and again and again and again. You don't learn. You just, you know, say, I'll get through this one. And I've gotten through so many
Yeah.
of those moments that. But check this out before I forget. I used to wake up in the morning and I knew that I did wrong when I look over and see my wife, and if she's crying, I knew I fucked up. I knew I messed up. And when she called me Papa. She called me Papa. And when she says Papa, I'm okay. So now she calls me Papa all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I know I'm on the right road.
Yeah, it seems like she was always this light for you and compass for you, rather, for you to know whether you're doing something right. You look for her smile, you look for things that she said, and that was the positive reinforcement, apart from praying, of course, that you needed to really get out of those dark moments.
Oh man, those dark. I mean, they were so dark, man. That, I mean, I never thought about hurting myself, but I was just saying, why is this constantly happening? I mean, why is this constantly happening? And I mean, the money you have, the fame you have, that's good, but it doesn't necessarily make you a better person. You know, you have to understand. You have to be comfortable in your own skin.
Right.
And I felt that one day. I went to a friend's house, and I went to their backyard, and because normally I would take a couple shots, hit cocaine and this and that, and walk in there and be cool. And now I go into that same backyard, okay. And again, I'm somewhat shy, but I'm sociable.
Sure.
But now I do that, and it's okay. It's okay. The minute I say, "Hey, how you doing?" By the way, what's your name again? You know,
Mm.
and that's life. That's real life. I should say that's
Yep.
real life.
Right. And you've learned to confront it
Yeah,
at
the
its rawest
most
form.
simplistic things.
Yeah.
I got to learn how to say, sweetheart, to my wife, "Hey, baby, so how's your day?" I keep forgetting to ask her how's her day. First thing I ask her, "So what's on my calendar? What do we have to do? What time is dinner?" You know, I'm trying. Bernadette, I love you. I've been trying to do that. You know, it seems so minuscule, seems so silly and simple,
Yeah.
but it's real. I mean, women want to be, not just women, but everyone wants to be appreciated.
Yeah. And those small
Appreciate
little things are
the
or
small
what? It's not the big gift.
No, it's not the big
the
thing.
big gifts help, but
Yeah, big
yeah,
thing.
but it's really the smallest things for
But
sure.
you know, I swear, I've learned so much in such a short period of time since I've been on this earth that I feel good about myself. I really, really feel good about myself. And it's work. It's on the job training, but it's okay. It's
Yeah,
okay.
for someone that comes from your background, which is playing one of the most masculine sports at the highest level, to be able to
Yeah.
be that open, it's people don't expect it, you know. So
Not
it's like
at all.
they take
Not
it by
at all.
surprise.
Yeah. 'Cause when I said it, you know, how you say something, and you try to bring it back into your mouth. I've said things, but it was meant to be. It was okay.
Yeah.
And even like sometimes, it just naturally comes out because it's. I gotta let them know that they're not by themselves,
Mm.
whether it's an alcoholic or drug addict or whatever the case may be. And then what happened too was going to these meetings, AA meetings. I'm like, hey man, I'm not an alcoholic. I mean, because my perception of an alcoholic was people on the street, homelessness.
Yeah.
That's not true, man. I walked into that room and I saw people. I'm like, what the hell? And some people I did know. I didn't know they was, like me. And it's again that you said it, humility.
Right.
It's humility. It's one of the toughest diseases to uh, to accept.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, as a fighter, as a champion, I'm not going to tell them, I thought about suicide and this and that, which I never have, never have. Just, but I felt so bad, whether it's my wife or my girlfriend or who, or my parents. But to make amends is everything.
Yeah.
To learn, but to make amends without hurting someone else again.
Right.
You know.
Right.
It's been for me. It's been a journey, man.
Would you say it's been a tougher battle, mentally and physically, than being in the ring and preparing for the mental fights that you had to go through?
Yeah, because for the most part, in the ring, unless I'm fighting a Hearns hack, I can just annihilate that guy.
Right.
For the most part, I can annihilate. Not that easy, but I will get him out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's harder. It's harder, man, because you're dealing with your heart, you're dealing with your mind, you're dealing with timing. You're dealing with how you say things.
Yeah.
Sometimes I gotta tell my kids, because sometimes they raise their voice. I said, stop, because it's not what you say; it's how you say it. Sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've learned so much since being in my program, and it's so funny because people say, "You're not an alcoholic." I said, "Yeah," and I wouldn't, and like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, I would never say that because it's such
Just the ego or something
it's ego,
holding you
but
back.
it's such "Are you an alcoholic? Or you're a drug addict? Or you a bum? Or this or that?" It's so painful. It's so negative that you don't want to be called that.
Yeah.
But it's not what it appears to be.
Is that why in beginning of like AA meetings, the first thing you do is you introduce your name and you say it out loud, which is I'm an alcoholic, to get rid of the negative stigma?
Well, I don't. You know, I tell you because the first, almost first maybe a couple weeks or a month, and I said, I'm Ray. I, I'm Bob. I'm an alcoholic. I didn't do that for maybe a week or two.
Oh wow.
Cause I couldn't. I just couldn't say that. I'm an alcoholic. Because even in my head today, I know, I think that I can go without drinking. And I can't because of my discipline
Yeah.
as a fighter.
Yeah.
I probably go a month, maybe a year, but I'm going to go back. It's because something's gonna happen, occur in my life that makes me react that way.
Mm.
Because that's a disease. It's a normal thing to do.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know. And when I drink, I never drank to socialize. I didn't drink. I didn't sip wine.
You went all in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that feeling that it just all of a sudden that problem you had is gone
Mm.
temporarily.
Right.
Temporarily, and which we learn or we make it worse. Yeah, but it's amazing. Uh, but I don't like going to those meetings because they can be like I don't know, like hundreds of people.
Mm.
I don't go to that.
That's too much. Yeah.
It's just too much. It's just too much. And then I know, and even when I go out of town, I don't go to meetings out of town. I just go here in Palisades. Then because I go out to those meetings in Boston or whatever case, and they say, hey, can I take a picture, man? I'm like, this is why I'm here. I'm here because I'm trying to rectify, just fix my life.
Right. Right.
You
It's
know?
so weird that people ask you in that
Because they
that
don't,
experience.
they're not thinking. All they're thinking about is taking a picture or doing that. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I understand it, but I don't understand it because you know. I mean, if it was a kid, it's hard to turn a kid away.
Yeah.
But then again, I see kids, well, kids to me, that who are in that, they're like, 17, 18, 19. And those kids been drinking since they were 13, 14, 15. Yeah, it's like, it's unbelievable.
Wow.
You know?
Wow.
Yeah.
So what goes on you talked about if you were by yourself that you wouldn't, you could go through a year, maybe a couple of years, but you would eventually go back. So what happens in the meetings itself that gives you the power or the inner confidence where you're not tempted?
That room gives you that power, but it can't control the mindset because you I mean when say you're really hurt, you find that your girlfriend, your wife, your husband did something wrong, or you all of a sudden now you owe the government, or, it's like those kind of things are so powerful that all you just want to do is erase it, cushion the blows, cushion them. And I remember I was at home, well, with my first wife, and I came in like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was trying to think of an excuse. So I'm laying in bed like this, and she's in the next room, and I'm trying to find something to make her believe that I fucked up. And I was watching, TV was on. I looked at TV, and it was a cowboy show, and cowboy. I pulled a gun out, thinking that she would come in, and Russ said, "Oh my God, she never came back." But those things. I mean, it's really a major concern because that's where I was at the time.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, I didn't think about naturally. I didn't think about killing myself. But I try to create a scenario. I try to create something that she'll feel sorry for me, because she know if I did something like that, that I need help.
Mm.
I mean, it's sick.
No, I get it. Subconsciously, you didn't want to like just tell her right up front that, hey, I need help.
Yeah.
You wanted to signal something,
Yeah,
signal
yeah.
something that's less direct, where hopefully you were going to try to get the same result without needing to go through that
I know.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing about it, my first wife is friends with my wife, my present wife, and helped. I mean, my wife, because I found out that my ex-wife, she has some bad financial moments, and she was working two jobs, but she was catching a bus to each job, and she would wake up 1 a.m. in the morning and get back like 1 a.m. I mean, she worked 24 hours because she didn't have a car, and I really I got emotional. I broke down, and my wife said, "So what's wrong?" I said, "Nothing." And she said, "Ray, what's wrong?" And I told her. She called her, bought her a new car.
Hmm.
I mean, it blew my it blew my mind because I just couldn't believe it. But then I said, hey, that's a blessing. It's no question a blessing.
Wow.
But I mean, it's all these things that take place. The kids now are older. The kids want to spend less time with you now. And because I didn't want to spend time with my parents.
Right.
Come
Naturally.
on, yeah,
Yeah,
naturally.
yeah,
I mean, no, yeah.
Too cool for them.
But it's like my son don't want to walk the red carpet. He don't want to walk with me.
Oh,
No,
really?
because it takes away his thing. He's into music. He wants to be an engineer. He wants to be a producer and everything. He wants his own.
He doesn't want to live in your shadows.
And
You're
my
saying.
shadow. My son, little Ray, I did a commercial, big time commercial called Seven Up.
Mm.
Years ago. He was 4 years old. He's 50, he's 45 now. But we're together. But he has his own business and everything. And every now he goes with me to do speaking engagements. And we talk. We talk openly. But my other son, the middle son, uh, he he fucks up so much, man. He goes, he does this and does that, and get involved with. He'll talk. He talked to some gangsters, in the hood, taking money from them and agreeing to pay them back, and they don't play.
Yeah, they don't fuck around.
They don't play.
Yeah.
So it's now it's like I got to be the father, a real father. So it's kind of I'm just doing these things here, but I'm learning and I'm doing as much as I can.
How do you go through that, knowing what you've been through yourself? I mean, he must understand this is something you've lived through.
They don't really know this part of what happened to me. I mean, like I disclosed that in the book, sexual abuse. But they just they don't realize how hard it is.
Right.
I mean, because their group, their father or parents are like multi millionaires, some billionaires, and they live this life. I mean, my kids live a life, an incredible life, but they have to understand that there are consequences if you fuck up.
Yeah.
It's you got to put the work in. You got to, it's hard. It's not that easy. My daughter just started a business and candles. She sells candles.
Candles. Yeah.
Yeah.
On Shopify or?
What's on Shopify? What is it? What is she? I don't know. Yeah.
We'll blur that out.
Yeah. But she, it's like.
Yeah.
She goes to LMU, so she doesn't feel that. She said, Pop, college, I want to go. I want to get out of college because it's not guaranteed that you'll get a good job. I said, baby, that's life. I mean, nothing is really guaranteed.
Yeah.
I said, it's good to have that on your resume. The fact you attended and you completed your college degree, but it's really harder now being a parent because you just don't know. I mean. Some of these crazy things happening on TV. I mean, I don't really watch a lot of news. I watch it now. I mean, what they call it, CNN is like,
yeah. It's like 20 headlines that go out in like 5 seconds. Just
yeah.
How do you even? The human brain isn't evolved for that,
And then you can say what you want to say now. It's like the hell with it. Fuck that. I mean, it's just a different time.
Different times, yeah.
So I want to be here as long as I can, and I know I have good genes.
You do. I mean, crazy. I looked up your age actually before. I was like, what? Yeah. Must have been an old photo. And then I see you here. I was like, God damn. No, it must be the praying.
It's all those things, man. And until you feel good in your own skin, I don't care what kind of life you have, good, bad, but you need to be willing to make it better, you know.
Yeah.
And you got to work. There's no shortcuts.
Yep.
Everyone wants instant gratification,
Yeah.
you know. And they have no idea how much work it took for me to be who I became.
No kidding.
I mean, really. I mean, it goes way beyond uh, that, because I even thought about doing a book about. I said that fight, that last fight, whatever. And this will be about people, and not just celebrities, but just people in general who's been so far down that they were able to pull themselves up because they were fighters.
Mm.
You know, to talk about that. I mean, there's a lot of people in this world they've been through even more than I have been, and they just need a platform to feel safe.
Yeah.
And the thing with the AA program, which is great, the anonymity, it's great, but then again, but I understand why, and I don't knock it, but people, and particularly young, no, not just young people, everybody needs to know that, you know, you're not by yourself.
Right.
You're not by yourself, and for years I thought it was just me who had problems with my girlfriend, my wife, who had problems with my kids. I thought it was just me. I thought it was isolated, just me.
Right.
And when you think about it, man, because when I fly on the planes and everything, so I say, yeah, I'm dealing with my teenage kids. I'm dealing with my this. I'm dealing with that. I'm dealing with my husband who's an alcoholic, who's a drug addict. He's this. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the book in itself is the most scalable way to do that, because now you're able to give someone permission or help them feel less alone, that someone like yourself has gone through that. Just like circling back from the beginning, as I said, someone that has really managed to thrive after all that is really unheard of. And yeah, I definitely think you should do that book.
The thing about it, though, it's like the people find it. I mean, with technology, the social media, there has been another platform that could really give that. Whether I'm on air, I mean, whether I'm like saying a few words, and you cut back to the reading, and because it's hard for me to read now, especially because I can pick this thing up and learn what's going on, right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if I lost my wallet with $500,000 in it, I would want this
more than that. Well, it's connected now, right? You got Apple Pay and everything.
It's ridiculous, man. And, do you do this when you driving sometimes?
I mean, I take a lift. Yeah, I don't want any police officers to watch this.
No, I find myself.
Well, you're right. Yeah, a lot of people do that. A lot of people do that.
And then I'll say,
yeah.
And I say, Ray, you know what? I mean, because it takes only
one moment.
A one moment.
Yeah.
I tell my wife that. She said, Ray, I've been long I've been doing this. I said, that doesn't make it right, you know. But hey, it's not. That's the way it is. I've learned. Are you married?
No.
Okay. Girlfriend?
On and off, yes. I live in Mexico, and you know, Latina girls.
No kids?
No kids, no.
Oh. How old are you now?
27.
27. 27. I'm trying to think about when I was 27. Where was I? I think I was retired.
This is after the Olympics, right?
No, I was 28 for the Olympics.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah, I was 20. Because Bruce Jenner was the same Olympics.
Ah, you looked up to him, right?
Oh yeah, Bruce.
Yeah.
Good
Her, him,
yeah. Yeah, but it's wild, man. It just, they always say life is what you make it. That is so true, though.
Yeah.
It is.
In its truest form, yeah.
In its truest form.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, Ray, I just want to thank you so much for, number one, coming on, making the time to share all this wisdom and really the most raw story that I've heard you share in all these interviews, and for you to share this in the most genuine way possible. I just want to thank you. We usually end these interviews off by leaving an actionable advice for people that are listening here, something that they can do to go from 0 to 1, to start that business, to help them give that little extra motivation to go through that next step in their life to go after their dreams. What's one actionable advice you think they can do today?
Well, you know what? I tell people to be a fighter outside the boxing ring. Um, to believe in themselves, because if they don't, no one else will. Um, to do their version of road work, to give it 100% always, and pray and pray.
Very
That's
powerful.
basically it.
Sugar Ray Leonard, thanks
All right,
so much
buddy.
for coming on.
Thanks, son. Thank you
Appreciate
so much.
you.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
All right. But I said things. Some of the things I said to you, I never really talk about like that. But it just, you did this, and let me talk.
I appreciate you.
Thanks, man.
Thank you so much for being
Thanks.
so raw and
Thanks.
honest. Yeah. We're just gonna do a quick photo. Quick photo. Yeah. Couple. Yeah.